2024.
Hello, 2024. Hello, Em. Hello to all of our listeners and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year indeed. I cannot believe we're saying 2024 right now. It feels
Crazy.
like yesterday when we're in 2023 and we're working through a lot of things. And here we are, 2024. What a ride.
I know. It's a leap year too. We get a free day, an extra day.
Yes. Only you could have thought of that, Sandra.
What we might be able to do with that 29th of February.
Well, welcome to Empowered Voices Amplified. Sandra and I are looking forward to what's next in our podcast. We've had quite an exciting 2023. We are in the third month running 8 episodes that are live and lots of articles that are live on our website, smpmagazine.com.au. You know, Sandra, if I look back at where we are now and where we were a few months ago when this was just an idea, I'm blown away by, you know, the people that have trusted us to tell their stories, really, who've made time to sit down with us and share parts of themselves that they hadn't shared with anyone before. I found that very humbling to be trusted with those stories. And, you know, when something is starting out, people sort of want to see where it's going to go. But we had some pretty awesome guests in our first season.
We did, and it is amazing. Again, it's about that trust, which 2 little ladies doing a podcast. I'd never done a podcast before. I don't think you had either. So,
No.
You know, it's a learning experience. And just looking at the flashbacks that we've had up this week, I can see where we've come already, and hopefully I can also see where we're going to be able to take this. It's very exciting, and I think it'll just only grow. And yeah, it's very exciting. As you can tell, I'm just like, whoa, I'm now a podcaster. Woo, add that to my resume.
Oh yeah, definitely. This is a skill. This is an incredible skill. So how were your holidays? What did you get up to?
Well, I had a merry COVID Christmas, didn't I? So we went on the COVID cruise. Everyone says, go on a cruise, you'll come back with COVID. And they were right. That was just before Christmas. So we just laid low. It was our first ever dose of getting COVID. And all you can do is just roll with it. We still, luckily, we done our Christmas shopping before we got sick. So we had a house full of food, no guests. We were having guests over, or we were going to go and visit with guests. So we just stayed home and made the best of it. We had a big year of home renovations, which finished just before Christmas. So we just sat, and it was just like being in a little resort, going in the spa, sitting on the deck, going to bed because we were feeling a little bit, you know, lightheaded and under the weather. But yeah, we made the best of what we could do and kept ourselves and our community and our family safe. And that kind of went through till New Year. So we also had a very quiet New. We kept on we had plans. Oh, we'll put that off. We might feel better. We won't feel better. We don't feel better. So yeah, so I feel like I'm owed a Christmas and New Year, but it's all good. It all still happened anyway. We probably saved a fortune. We haven't been to the shops.
Yeah,
we're only just emerging from our cave now. But anyway, you have to laugh. It was our, like I said, first dose. We got all through the really terrible part of the pandemic and out the other end, and bang, maybe we just got a bit too complacent. But it's a bit hard to socially distance when you're in a ship full of thousands of people. But anyway, how about you? What did you get up to?
Well, there was a lot of rain. It rained. And rained some more. And it wasn't like that beautiful drizzle that you'd look out and smile and sit on a couch and have hot chocolate. It was like full on rain. And I guess the summer storms, we know that it usually rains around Christmas, but this was different. So couldn't go to the beach. We were meant to go camping. Well, couldn't go camping, could we? So all the roads to where we wanted to go for our camping trip were closed, so we had to stay at home. We did, however, have a beautiful lunch with one of my close friends, Preeti, and the family. And man, my friend can cook. Her mom can cook as well. So we had a lovely, quiet, but really beautiful Christmas, and I'm thankful to have been invited for a Christmas lunch, because if it was either that or find a place that was serving a nice Christmas lunch and go there. But it's not the same. I always, in my culture, Christmas is about family getting together, lots of food, lots of stories, lots of fun. And my heart was breaking a little bit that my 9-year-old was going to be stuck with two grown-ups on Christmas Day, but thank God that didn't happen. So that was lovely. It's not what I'm used to for the break. New Year's was also really quiet. Our household, we were a bit unwell, so we decided to stay at home and just chill. We did stay up until midnight though.
Did. I think I fell asleep and then woke up. Anyway, I was watching something on TV. But anyway, I was like, oh yeah, Happy New Year.
Speaking of which, is that like did you grow up with that tradition of staying up until midnight for the new year?
Growing up, I think maybe we did, but we spent a lot of our childhood just with our nuclear family when we were living in the countryside. At various times, other relatives did live there, but they bit by bit moved towards the city, which we did eventually. So I think there were a few years of it just being our family, and I think you would stay up just because you were allowed to as children. We would always be up at midnight on Christmas Eve. That was a bigger thing for us because we had, which I've mentioned before, we had a shop growing up, and it was the sort of like a snack bar, fruit shop, little bit of everything. And our little town called Wandai had a Christmas Eve festival every year. They close off the main street, and Clem the mechanic would dress as Santa, and there'd be tractor rides and things like that. But our shop would stay open through that. So stay open until about 10:30, 11 o'clock at night. Then it was clean up time. So we would always be coming home from the shop because as we got older, we had to work in the shop. And we would always be just settling down to bed, and we'd hear the church bell across the, well, I suppose two blocks up, St Mary's church bell, tolling for the midnight church service. And it was like, it's time to go to bed now. It's midnight. And then us kids would have gone to bed, and mum and dad would have been racing around trying to do all the Christmas Eve things that parents normally do whilst trying to, pack up, put away the till, count the takings, and do all the stuff that you do when you own a business, and make sure that when we woke up on Christmas morning, which was, I think Christmas Day and the Boxing Day were the only 2 days that they had off, and then they had 4 days at Easter, and that was it throughout the whole year. So
Wow.
So the New Year's, I don't quite remember being all that exciting or magical. There was probably TV involved, and it really wasn't till I came to live in Brisbane when I was in my late teens that, New Year was a thing, and you could go to party. There was somewhere to actually go because a little country town, there wasn't much going on.
Well, I think from the time I was probably 9, I think would always stay up. And I remember this particular New Year's Eve, and we were, my sister and I. So when I say we, it's always because my sister was involved in everything that I did, my young sister. But I remember we went to my grandmother's place. My gran used to live in Bari, which is in Harare, and there would be fireworks and people would be on the streets until midnight. And at the stroke of midnight, there'd be lots of noise, screaming, fireworks. Like it was a neighborhood party. And each street always tried to outdo the following one. So you can imagine the chaos that reigned on New Year's. But one of the things what I loved the most was how we were allowed to stay up late. We could talk and, would be listening to stories about a lot of things. And it always fascinated me how safe it felt to be out on the street at night where you can't do that any other day of the year. But on New Year's Eve, it was always safe to be outside. Everyone looked out for all the kids, and it was beautiful. It was really beautiful. I absolutely loved it. And since then, New Year's Eve has always been such a big part of my life. There has to be a party, there has to be going out, there has to be music and dance involved. And there was also this thing, I'm not sure if we have it in Australia. I think I heard something about the top 100. We used to have a top 100 as well. And at the
Mm.
stroke of midnight, that would be the number one song of the year.
Oh,
And it was fantastic. So you can imagine with 100 songs to party with from 10 p.m. until midnight.
beautiful. It sounds like fun. They
Good.
do the hottest 100 here, but they traditionally have done it on Australia Day because it's generally a bonus day off. But I think that might be slightly changed because the sentiment of Australia Day has changed for many people, and it's not necessarily a day of celebration. So I think they still have it, but they maybe do it at a slightly different time. But
Oh,
might be just depends on when that long weekend or holiday falls as well. But so don't quote me.
well, music has changed over the years as well.
Oh my
So
gosh, sure has.
that's something. I
Mm.
find myself listening to early 2000 music. I was about to say 80s music, and I was like, no, I actually don't know any 80s music or 90s music. But there's something I found, there were songs I used to sing when I was young, which were pretty inappropriate, but had no idea what these
It's just
songs
like
meant.
that.
Like,
The
yeah,
innocence of
exactly,
childhood. Mm.
exactly. Boys to Men songs. Anyway, moving swiftly along. So, what are you excited about for 2024?
Wow, 23 was such a ride. I'm starting off this year back in the home, I think, focusing on home, family. We've got quite a few things happening in my family in the first couple of months of the year, so it's quite exciting. My mum's turning 80, so there's a big 80th birthday party for her in February. I've also got cousins. I've got so many cousins. I'll just this cousin. I've got a cousin coming for dinner tonight, which is lovely. But I have other cousins coming from the UK in February. They're also coming to my mum's party, and they're staying with us for a little while. So it's just going to be focusing a little bit more on that. I put so much of myself into work last year, and I think sometimes your home life and your family life can suffer a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
We put so much into our home last year with all the renovations, new carpet, doors, floors, kitchen, carport, you name it, something got done. And so this year's a really good time to just sit back and actually enjoy that, enjoy what we've done, and not have this huge list of things to do. So I'm looking forward to that, and just exploring new possibilities professionally, but striving for a bit more balance, maybe. What about you?
I love that. I love how intentional you are. You're planning on being. That is amazing. I love that. For well, as you know, my 2023 was nothing I could have ever predicted. To be honest, when I look back at what it was like, it was such a big year, starting a new business, becoming chief strategist to skilled migrant professionals, starting this podcast with you, and my business really taking off way quicker than anyone had warned me it would. I was told the opposite, and it just blew my mind. And it was such a busy year, and also winning, being named one of Queensland's 40 under 40, that blew my mind away. Because there's so many incredible people doing amazing things in our state. And to be recognized as one of them, I was like, wow, my work matters. And getting more involved in the African Professionals of Australia was amazing. So I found, and beginning to speak, like I've always wanted to do that, but getting invited to be a speaker was again something totally new, and I absolutely loved it. I started talking on the empowerment zone and started doing personal branding workshops, again something that I hadn't explored before, but I'd sort of done, but not intentionally. So 2023 I feel, was a year of many firsts for me. And by the time we got to December, I was really, really tired, but also energized. It's such a funny combination, isn't it? But everything that I did really filled me up. But I knew, I recognized I needed to rest, and I did take a bit of time off. Thanks, weather, for helping me with that. And 2024, personally and professionally, she said, does resonate with me. I do want to be more intentional about being present. So if I'm having a conversation with a friend, if I'm having if I'm having dinner or if I'm having coffee, whatever it is, I want to be more in that moment. And it's something I started practicing in 2023, and I felt it filled my cup so much more. There are certain things that I'm not going to have this year, like a smartwatch. I found it's very distracting for me because it forces me to check my message. I didn't like that. I didn't like the pressure I felt to be always on. So I'm not going to have one. For the first time in like 10 years, I'm not going to have a smartwatch. It's those things for me. And obviously, Vaka as well, going strong, doing a lot of things in that front. I've got amazing clients I'm working with, and but again, just being intentional about where do I want to take my business? What do I want my life to look like? I want to travel a bit more than I did last year. And there were lots of reasons I couldn't do that in 2023, but I'm praying 2024, health, everything else is much better and can be more intentional about travel and making new friends and new connections. I always love getting to know new people. So I'm excited about that. And while we've spoken about our personal and professional life, what are you envisioning for Skilled Migrant Professionals Magazine and Empowered Voices Amplified podcast?
I just think onwards and upwards. That's my motto for this year. Personally, professionally, and for the magazine, which is professionally, but it's also a passion of ours. I just see making more connections, getting more really good quality guests who've got some stories to tell, who can, I guess, stimulate our thinking and who can amplify. That's what we're all about, is amplifying those voices. And people who, you meet one person and they have a network, and then their network goes, oh, you're on our podcast, or you've written a guest article for our magazine, or you've contributed in some way, and it just spreads. It is a network, empowering others, listening to their stories, celebrating what they have achieved and what they're bringing to their communities and what they're bringing to our wider society. I just think it's going to keep expanding, and I'm so looking forward to that. And that won't be us doing it. Obviously, we're here behind the scenes working, but I think word's going to get out, and I think that more and more people will have a look at what we're saying and what we're trying to achieve and wanting to be part of it. And we've already experienced that with people going, oh, I'd like to, be part of this. Yeah. So yeah, bring it on and bring on some more. So that's what I'm hoping, onwards and upwards.
Yes, I love that. We can only go up. Really enjoyed the conversations we've had with people, and I've also enjoyed the conversations with friends where we just talk about any topic at all that comes to mind. Really enjoyed that. Our guests, we've had incredible guests. I am still convinced that Victor and I need to start a business together on coaching some people. I enjoyed Desire's vulnerability. Like, he's incredible. I know a lot of people whose lives have been impacted by him. And a lot of people, surprisingly, were sending me messages about how they know Desire and how he's helped them. And these are people I would have never guessed would have crossed paths with him. And, Debbie, Debbie
was amazing.
We loved her, didn't we? We absolutely loved her. Her knowledge on tech and everything to do with tech and how that can solve, problems, how we should what we need to be saying about tech to the young generation. And then there was Kara. I really resonated with what Kara Cook shared on quarters and how if you're not deliberate about inclusivity, it's not going to happen. So I really liked how she explored inclusivity and diversity and not making it as yucky as it can sometimes feel, but just looking at it as this is the best way forward for our business or for our society and for our communities. And with Christine,
Oh my God, she was a powerhouse.
she's great at what she does. She's passionate about what she does. And we absolutely enjoyed talking to her. She was a blast. And I
She
think,
was.
yeah. And then we had Olivia. Olivia shared something that's, and we spoke about this, Sandra, that culturally we don't like talking about mental illness because you've got to be strong, you've got to suck it up, you have to, all those things. But she explored it in a way that, you own your story, you get the help that you need. And there's no shame in that. There's no shame in, in depression. There's no shame in anxiety. It's about how do you then find people that can help you move to where you need to be. And that was a really powerful episode as well.
And one of
Yeah.
the things I've found this year, and it's talking, some of the things that you've mentioned is just bringing things out into the open, like mental health issues, like diversity in not just in the workplace, but just faces on TV and in the media,
Yes.
and just doing this work and having these conversations with people has made me so much more aware of the homogenous nature of what we're being presented. I mean, clearly social media particularly has the algorithms that go, oh, you've looked at this, so you must like that, and you'll get more and more of this.
Yes.
But you're actually perhaps being excluded from the real picture of what our society's like and all the voices that are out there. So you think that's my normal, that's everybody's normal. Well, no, it's not. So it has made me very much more aware of that. And actually, I saw this program on TV last night, and it was about the Edinburgh Festival, the Fringe Festival, when it first started out. And one of the comedians, Stephen K. Amos, who's black British comedian, he was saying he was the only face back in those days, and he was kind of, it defined him. Everybody else was white, all the audiences were white, and it's the sort of thing that we're talking about all the time. Is unless you highlight that and say, well, this isn't our society, this is just somebody else's representation of it, then you're not going to get change. And if you look at
Yeah.
the audiences in the UK, and again, this was about comedians, but if you look at the diverse range of people who come onto stages now, women, people from different cultures, there's just such a much more broad representation, and the rest of the society needs to go there as well, and it needs to go further, to be honest. But
Yeah.
where I was getting at is just having the conversation makes you notice. And I notice ads now. I notice ads. I notice good ads that are diverse. I notice ads that are just whitewashed, let's call it, and that's not a good ad. So that gives you then the opinion of that company is you don't know your market, or maybe you think
Yes.
you do. And yeah, it's good business these days to recognize that there are all sorts of people out there, and they are your customers. And
Exactly.
it's just very exciting to be where we are, is celebrating the differences and highlighting when perhaps things could improve. We're not about doom and gloom. We're about celebrating, and we're about diversity, and we don't intend to be on a soapbox pushing any particular political issue, but it's just about, have a look around you. There are voices out there not being heard, and that's what I love about what we're doing.
Yeah. And I think we are at a time where people are ready to have an honest conversation and an honest look at themselves and everything that they've grown up with. We're at a time where people are feeling comfortable to challenge things a little bit more. And I'll give this example. Look, I don't really know much about Hollywood and everything else, but Taraji, an actress, she's quite famous. I've known her for quite a long time, and many people could know her from Empire. She came out a few weeks ago talking about the pay disparity between black female actresses and white female actresses, and how I think she had this one really famous role where she got paid $150,000 and Brad Pitt got paid $10 million, and they were co-stars.
It's insane, isn't it? It
It's
is insane.
absolutely insane. And this conversation, and where my point is not to debate about, what people are getting paid and all these in Hollywood. We know this happens closer to home in our companies and everything. But my point here is that I think people are now ready to have that conversation because the response to that has been really positive. Where a few years ago, I think probably 10 or 20 years ago, Monique came out, she's another black actress, came out and spoke about pay disparity, and people brushed her aside, and she was cancelled at that time for saying such a thing. Whereas Taraji right now, people are starting to have that conversation like, yeah, let's talk about that. Let's talk about pay disparity in sport, in corporate, in communities. Let's start talking about that and having those conversations. So I think we're at a period where people are willing to listen and to learn. And I'm really excited to see how we can make our communities better, because that's what we're all about. How do we make our communities better for the generations coming up? How do we make our environment better for the generations coming after us? All those things. I'm excited about that. And before we wrap up, Sandra, I know you're passionate about this one. Do you want to talk a little bit about one of our amazing guests, Liz Irvine, and where we're taking that journey going into February?
I'm very excited about February. If you've been following us a little while on LinkedIn, you might have seen some photos of our little day trip. And hopefully this is going to be the first of many day trips to communities. But we were invited by Liz Irvine to go and visit some businesses and have a little look around Logan. And we were just amazed at some of the stories that we encountered and the generosity as well of the people that we met there. So we have some specials coming up. We've got some interviews with Liz about her love for Logan. We met another lovely lady, Alexis, who has generously given us her story as well, and that was amazing. And again, she has such a love for Logan and promoting the community and small businesses, lots of other business people as well, and we're telling their stories. So that's all coming up in February. We're also on the lookout for stories of other communities. Once you've seen our Logan story, if you have a story about your own community, we would love to hear it. We'd love to come out and see what's happening. And yeah, that's where we're heading for 2024. Lots of exciting things to talk about, people to introduce, stories to tell. Yeah, it's going to be amazing. So watch this space.
Watch this space indeed. Well, thank you, Sandra, for hanging out with me on a beautiful, is today Wednesday? Look, I've lost track of time.
It's Thursday.
Oh, yeah.
But the sun's shining, I think.
The sun is shining, so I am not going to waste this day in the house. I am going out.
Enjoy.
So thanks a lot, and thank you to all our listeners. We had an incredible 3 months. I've been blown away by the views we've had on YouTube, by the listeners we've had and the subscriptions we had on both Spotify and YouTube. And if you haven't had a chance to catch up on the episodes, I would encourage you to listen to all the episodes that are live. We currently have 12 episodes live on Spotify, Apple, Google, and YouTube, anywhere really that you listen to podcasts. So I'd encourage you, take a listen before we start with new guests from the 15th of January. But really excited about what 2024 has in store for us. And from Sandra and I, we wish you the most incredible 2024. We hope that everything that you wish for, that you pray for, comes to fruition, and that this will be your best year yet.